Welcome back to Uncompromised, the podcast about regenerative agriculture and how we can uncompromise our food. I'm Kyle, your host. I'm here with my dad, Scott Anderson, who's the owner and founder of the farm, and Kevin Molinex, who's a longtime family friend and a business partner. Today, we are going to talk about some of the processes that happened on the Christmas tree side of the operation. I'm trying to document every aspect of the Christmas tree operation throughout the annual year. So to try to like break that down into steps. And the way I've broken that annual process down is I've captured it in 8 steps. Now I think that the way you think of it and the way I'm thinking of it is probably 2 different things because I've condensed some things into certain areas.
Yeah.
So you might disagree with some of that. And if I miss anything on here, let me know and I can update the list. But basically I've captured it into 8 steps and we've worked through, I think the first 3, because we're on step 4. So we're going to actually cover step 4, step 5, and step 6 in today's episode because all of these happen in the summer months. So I'm kind of grouping those together, and there's also not really a lot to talk about for a couple of them. We left off by talking about the mowing evolution, and we did talk about how you currently mow. So that some of that was captured back in episode 11. If you are interested in the mowing side of it, we do a deep dive on that. You can go back and look at that. We'll probably touch on some of that again today because that leads right into step 4, which is weed management. And part of weed management includes mowing and pulling weeds. Question for Kevin.
Yes. Can you go over the steps that you have listed?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Right.
Okay. All right. Give me a second to pull that up.
Okay. Just curious on how you have it grouped.
Oh, okay. So you want me to go through all 8 steps?
Just kind of in general. Yeah.
Yeah, 1,000-foot view type thing.
Right.
Or 10,000 foot, whatever that saying is.
All right.
Higher than where we are, that's for
Right.
sure.
All right. Here is step 1. Prepare the fields for planting. And this generally happens from January to February. Step 2 is plant seedlings, which happens from March to April. That involves drilling holes, planting, mulching, things like that. Step 3 is deconing, roughly around April through May, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
4, weed management, March through October. And then step 5 is shape and top the trees, which happens roughly around June through August. And then from July through August is step 6, which is ordering the seedlings.
Right.
And that involves, well, we'll get into that. That involves a few other minor or sub steps. Step 7 is get ready for the Christmas season, which is from September through to December. And that involves a lot of steps. That'll be a long episode.
Yeah.
Step 8 is the Christmas season. That's the final step. I have in parentheses getting paid.
Yeah, exactly.
And that happens from November through to December, at least for us, because that's our season.
Yep. Now that sounds like a good list. I mean,
Perfect.
A good way to kind of capture everything, but not overwhelm with a number of steps. I think those 8 phases or steps make good sense.
Yeah, phases is another good word because I wasn't sure because there's a couple ways to look at it because it depends on like when you want to start. Because sometimes you really like you can technically start in the December timeframe when you're closing up shop or preparing for the winter.
Yeah.
But I wanted to do it just on a timeline, or on an annual calendar, just to make it clean.
Well, and it also makes sense in the sense that we're starting from the point that the consumer doesn't know anything about and ending with what they're familiar with and what they see.
Right.
Right. And, a lot of times people think it's just putting the seedling in the ground and, several months later,
See you at Christmas.
harvesting it and there's nothing that goes in between.
I think a lot of people think about that. Think of it that way.
The only other thing that we might add to this is there is in the January, February timeframe, the paperwork. Updating all of the paperwork, taxes, getting that ready to go.
Yeah.
Because that's a significant amount of time there. I've got to do a number of things to make sure that labor. I've looked at our labor across the board, analysis of the data that we've collected over the year. I do all my analysis during that time. And then we get together and we kind of just brainstorm and think about what are the next steps or any major decisions that need to be made or strategic thinking a little bit looking outward. All that kind of happens during those those winter months when we have a little bit more time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good to know. I may make a note of that.
Yeah.
So from March through to October, it's kind of a long time frame, but that's when plants are growing. There's a lot of growing happening, and that means that there's a lot of various chores. So I've grouped this all under the umbrella of weed management. So do you want to get into that and what that entails?
Yeah. So weed management basically is mechanical. The way we do it here is mechanical mowing, and so that starts in as early as March. We have started mowing mid-March for sure, and I think this year we were a little bit toward the latter end of March. But as soon as the rains kick in and we get enough sunshine, all that kind of good stuff, under the weed management phase, if you will, that's where we're really going to get heavy into the mowing operation and controlling anything that's growing up underneath the trees. And that's what we're trying to do. That's the purpose behind it, is just to control anything growing up underneath the trees so that we don't choke the tree out and we have a good bottom section of the tree. That's just as important as the top. A lot of people pay a lot of attention to the top of the tree. You got to put just as much attention to the bottom of the tree so that you've got a nicely proportioned tree all the way through. Yeah. So that's what weed management is doing for us. It's just, instead of using chemicals or anything along those lines, we use that. But in addition to mowing, we are also using our chickens. As we talked about, the chickens are doing a tremendous job. I had a guy out yesterday who wanted to look at our baler, and a Christmas tree farmer, and so I took him out and showed him what the chickens are doing. And man, they're cleaning up out there.
I would say, what all, we talked a little bit, not much about, what did he have to say? Did he look around the trees and see how they're cleaning out around the trees?
Yeah, and it didn't take much, because right there in front of us, they were going at it.
Right.
And so they do it with scratching and they'll peck the weeds and that kind of thing, but they've really been doing a good job for us there. So that's helping too with weed management.
Yeah, and you're specifically talking about laying hens, because we have them kind of out in the open. They're contained with a perimeter electrified portable fence.
Yeah.
And so they're able to roam and get underneath all the trees, as opposed to the broilers, which are kind of contained in a tractor, and we don't have a way to get them under the trees.
Right.
But the hens are really good at getting right up under there and scratching,
rolling around
every single tree. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And we have, I think it's about 10,000 square feet.
Right.
Is about what we have sectioned off for them. So it's a big area.
Yeah.
But we've got 81 hens out there right now that are, doing their thing out there. But they spread out, and they really do a good job. So between that and the mowing.
Yeah, and then we move them forward. So eventually, do you think? Yeah, I don't think we hit. Last year was the first time we used the chickens, and we didn't hit the entire Christmas tree portion.
Right.
Like, I don't even think we came close. So
we will this year. We'll do pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about field 6 still.
Yeah, we may
because
not.
that has a lot of big trees in it.
Yeah. Yeah. We may not get there, and we skipped some that we've got to kind of go back and
we're gonna work back towards.
But we also only have one chicken coop.
Right.
So if we had 2, maybe one day in the future, if we have another one going, we can probably start at opposite ends or something, and maybe meet in the middle.
Yeah, and we also talked about getting them out into 1 and 4.
Yeah, I'd like to be able to do that too.
Yeah,
I think that would be good.
So it's 1 and 4 for the uninitiated are 2 fields that are in the front of the farm by the road, and then we're basically talking about, we've been moving them in the back fields of the Christmas tree farm.
Yeah, and the reason we've got them back there is because we have a fully enclosed fencing area that so we can close that off, and that minimizes foxes or coyotes getting in there. Out front in fields 1 and 4, we call 1 and 4, we have fence all the way around, but it's almost all the way around, 3/4 of the way around. But there's a section that's not fenced, and the front is not fenced. Right. So it's not that much protection.
Yeah, it doesn't have that added layer of predator protection.
Yeah, I feel like the busyness of the road kind of keeps predators away anyway.
I think you're right.
From a predation point, I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just this side. the side where
right here.
our neighbor is, that's not covered whatsoever, and that's where they can come in.
Right, creep over from the farmer's field next door.
Right, right.
And then potentially, hopefully next year, is having the sheeps, Aiden, the sheeps.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But that's an important point though, because that's exactly right. Those the sheep are going to become a major contributor to the weed management process.
Yeah.
I mean, in a big way, and that's going to adjust a lot of what we're doing right now. So trying to introduce that livestock mechanism into our Christmas trees so that we can, enjoy all of the benefits of the principles that we've been talking about up to this point in regenerative agriculture. Yeah, that's a great point, having those things.
Well, and that's, I mean, we've talked about it a little bit before, but also allowing more time for us to do the things that we're not getting to do because you're freed up from mowing as much.
Yeah, I was reading The Shepherdess. It's a great book that we purchased to help us get smart on sheep, and one of the things it was saying is it's a time consumer.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, and I know it is, but it takes a lot of time.
Managing the sheep is time consuming.
Yeah, the herd.
Yeah, managing the herd, especially if you don't have a good working dog.
Right.
And again, you got to, if it's a big herd, we're not talking a big herd, but I mean, we may be talking upwards of around 50 or so. I don't know what the number will eventually be.
Eventually, because you said, based on the calculations, that we can hold over 150.
Oh yeah, we can hold up to 200.
Right.
Easily on just the Christmas trees in fields 2, 2, 3, 5, and 7 and 6. Yeah.
And you're talking specifically about, I always forget the name, Shropshire?
Yep, Shropshire.
Shropshire.
Not Shropshire.
Yeah. Say that 3 times fast. Shropshire.
And the reason you're interested in Shropshire is because, for a couple of reasons, but mainly they don't cause trouble when it comes to them eating the actual seedlings or
That's
Christmas
the
trees.
primary reason. Of all the sheep breeds, that's the only one that I'm aware of, and again, just there may be others, I'm sure, but that's the only one that I'm aware of that will not go after the Christmas trees.
So,
and especially the seedlings.
Right.
And that's most important.
That's important.
Yeah.
So just to put that into perspective, the chickens do a good job of eating a lot of the bugs, keeping that in control, but they get underneath the trees and keep the weeds from growing up from under the tree and around the trunk and stuff like that.
Yep.
You mechanically mow the rows and the service rows, the aisles and service rows throughout the Christmas tree fields. And that's primarily just grass and like a cover crop, and you're mowing that down mechanically.
Right. There's a fair amount of weed and clover in there.
Okay, yeah.
Especially the clover. We've let the clover grow, and so that's now filling in pretty nicely in between the trees. And so you got grass and clover.
And did you plant the clover, or did it just happen naturally?
Nope, it's happened naturally.
And then the sheep, where the sheep come into play, is that's theoretically going to reduce the amount of mechanical mowing between the aisles and in the service rows, right?
Right.
And then they probably, I don't envision them doing like the chicken's job where they're getting up and underneath the trees as much.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Yeah, so they're primarily to reduce the mechanical mowing for the rest of the cover.
Now we're going to learn. I don't know for sure.
Yeah, this is all theoretical for us.
There's a Christmas tree farm not too far from us that we're going to go visit here on the 21st of August that have Shropshire sheep. And so I look forward to talking with them about those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Just how effective are they, and just learn as much as we can about that.
Yeah.
So you mentioned 3 different ways of pulling weeds. So one was manual pulling, which is kind of what we do a couple times throughout the summer. I guess one in the beginning and then one at the end. You'll go through and we'll manually go around and pull the weeds that we visually see, anything that we've missed or something that's growing, just so that it doesn't overtake the tree. Just to complete my thought, the other one was the chickens, and then the third one was chemicals, which we don't do on the farm, but that is another option, is chemical spraying. But yeah, so anyways, back to the manual pulling. We do that how often?
Yeah, so actually I'm going to do it 3 times. Normally it's twice. But this year I feel a need to do it a third time. So yeah, what happens is the mechanical mowing doesn't get, especially right up against the tree, because you've just got to be really careful not to hit the tree with the mower. The bark is surprisingly sensitive. So if you touch the tree, then you injure the tree, and it really, I think, oh, of course you can bump the tree. No, you can't. And if you do, and you look up underneath that tree, you will see it's injured. So you want to minimize that, because all that does is that invites bugs and those kinds of things, disease, all that kind of good stuff.
It's also sometimes from the heat of the engine, isn't it? Because I've noticed that some of the branches will die off because if you get too close to the engine.
Right, because the exhaust happens to be at about 4 feet up or 3 feet up. And yeah, if you get it too close and stop or something like that, it'll burn it. So what we do is in June, in preparation for the team that comes out to top the trees, to shape the trees, I'll do a complete walkthrough where I'm getting any, especially like mulberry, wild lettuce, poison ivy, and there's a number of other weeds like ragweed in particular, lamb's quarter. What's that?
Virginia creeper?
Virginia creeper, yeah, absolutely will grow in there. And so you got to get that out because the mechanical mower won't get all of that. So if it's up there and I see it, then I'm going to clean it out. So that's what that's doing for us. But I also will, if there's any brown on the tree, so sometimes we'll break a limb at the bottom in mowing, just cut that out, that kind of thing.
Yeah, because while you're down there, you might as well.
Yeah, exactly. But this time, so that's in June. I'm now ready to do it again. It's in the middle of August. And what I want to do here is I've got a lot of mulberry that is continuing to grow that I didn't see before. Now it's grown enough that I can see it. Get that out, get the dead stuff out. But I also, now that the trimming has been done, I want to start looking at the tops of the trees and make sure they're all good as well. So I can do a number of things all at the same time with this next step. And then prior to, it'll be in probably the October timeframe, we'll do it one more time, a complete walkthrough to make sure everything is nice and clean and presentable for the customers when they come in November.
And so by walkthrough, you mean you're actually physically walking around, inspecting every single tree?
Every single tree, all the way around, making sure everything's good. You know, I'm looking for, if there's a double, if there's a double trunk that's growing, try to identify those as early as I can so that I can cut them out. And so the sooner you can do that, you don't have to cut it out at all. You just cut one of the sides off. But if you're too late, like we had one just out here that thing been there for 8 years.
Probably. I was 6-7 foot tree easily. Oh,
absolutely. And I'm sitting there doing my walkthrough kind of stuff, and the tree looks just oddly shaped. So I go up underneath it to look at it, and there's 3 trunks. So I had to cut that one down. But you normally, any other angle I was looking at it, it looked perfectly fine.
You just have to hit it just right.
Yeah,
sometimes.
And I happened to be sitting at an angle where I could say something's odd with that.
Yeah, and that's one of the most frustrating things.
Yeah,
especially when you have during selling season, when you have a customer come in, they have this beautiful tree that they've been hunting for a while. And
we've had that happen.
Oh, numerous times.
Yes, where they cut it down and it gets in the processing area, double trunk.
Yep. So that's a good reason why we try to find those during the off season, so that we don't have to, a disappointed customer come the Christmas season.
Well, yeah.
This disappointed customer, and also we lose years of growing.
Right. That tree is no longer, we just lost an expensive tree.
Yeah.
And you may think, well, it should be awfully easy to see that. Well, if it was, we wouldn't have them.
Right.
Because I'm up against these trees a lot. I mentioned in one, over the course of the year, we visit a tree 43 times. 43 times. So
in just 1 year?
In just 1 year.
Times that by 8.
Yep.
Right. Over the lifespan of the tree.
Oh yeah. So you should be able to see it, but they're really good at hiding that kind of thing, and they're dense. Especially the dense trees. If it's not dense, you'll see it from a mile away. But with the dense trees, you just won't see it. And just the natural way the tree grows, it compensates for all of that and it keeps that beautiful conical shape to it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what is the point of getting rid of the weeds around the trees? Why not just keep them instead of pulling them?
Yeah. So around the trees, the most important thing is that I'm not going to create a problem with that bottom of the tree. So the weeds between the trees. So like they're on a 6 foot apart, every 6 feet down the row is a tree. Between those trees, the weeds can grow. We just mow them down. We don't kill them. We mow them down because they're providing that. It's a diversity thing.
Yeah, they're serving as a cover crop at that point.
Absolutely. And so I don't want to kill them, and then but getting rid of the weeds that are around the tree. The primary reason is the whole idea of crowding that tree. Another argument, I think it's a weak argument, and I don't necessarily buy into this is that it's consuming nutrients and water and that kind of thing that otherwise the tree would get. Not so quick on that one, especially based on the principles as we've learned those principles,
Right.
and understand what they're doing in terms of nutrient cycling and helping to actually get the water down. I think it's a benefit. So I don't like to pull them if they're not right up against the tree, but we will mow them down.
Right.
Or the animals will consume them.
So it is possible, I mean, can a weed disfigure a tree if you don't pull it?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, they'll grow up like the wild lettuce, and especially I'll use ragweed as an example because it's such a bushy weed. Once that starts growing in there, then the bottom limbs, they're not able to grow like they should. And then when you take those weeds out of there, it's the limbs are now oddly configured. And
So now you have gaps in foliage.
Exactly. And that's what you don't want to do. You don't want to have that because then you don't have a tree that, looks nice for the customer.
So
What about the ones the vines that grow around it?
Yeah. So that's fine. Those generally are fine if you get the vines off. If you don't get the vines off, we're talking about morning glory.
Right.
So if you don't get the vines off, that morning glory will wrap right around that leader and bend that leader over.
Yeah, okay. Because I've seen it.
Yep.
So when it does that, I mean, is that...
Oh, that'll completely disfigure that top.
And the leader's a very important part of the tree.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do pay a lot of attention to any vine that's growing. And there's 2 vines primarily that we have growing on the tree other than poison ivy or Virginia creeper. One is going to be your wild grape, and that'll grow, but that's not going to take that leader and turn that leader down, but it will grow a lot in the tree. And so you want to pull that out. That's wild grape. And then the other one is morning glory. And morning glory is the one, and there's 2 varieties that we have here. We have a thick vine morning glory, and we have a thinner vine one. Beautiful flowers on them. But once they get a hold of that top, they'll just continue to grow, and you'll really have a real problem there.
which one has the thorns?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Okay. That one.
And it's a vine that has thorns?
It's not a vine.
It's not a vine.
It's a very weak weed. All you have to do is just tug on it a little bit and it breaks.
Yeah.
But I can't remember. I know the name. It's just escaping me at the moment.
You know it when you grab it.
Oh yeah, you know it when you grab it. Even with those neoprene gloves.
Yeah, even with the cut
goes
resistant
right through
gloves.
those. Yeah.
Man, those things.
Yeah, so those are the vines. Yeah, that we want to take care of.
That turn into a Dr. Seuss tree.
Yeah.
I mean, another obvious reason is that come the fall and winter time, that vine, that's if we left it onto the tree, it'll die off, and then it'll kind of make the tree ugly for the customer. So I mean, it's obvious, but that's another reason why too.
Yeah, and then it also, what does that communicate to the customer if they get in there and they get a tree and there's vines growing in it, or there's reeds growing in it, up in it? I'd be very disappointed. What that tells me is you guys don't really take care of your trees very well.
Right, laying down and seeing just a mess under there that you got to clean out before you can cut it down.
I would be very disappointed.
So
if I was the customer.
That would also make life harder in the processing room because you know we're going to be in there cleaning all that out and
You
having-
bet.
Yeah,
You bet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great
that's
point.
true. While we're on the subject, what about like birds' nests? Because there's a lot of trees that have
Robins.
that are homes to birds now, and they have nests in there. So what do you? I mean, what's your general thought process on that?
You want my thought process or Trudy's thought process?
Kind of want to know what yours is, because I know what
Mom's.
mom's is.
Yeah. Mom just never touch them. Leave them alone. And she's right. She's right, especially in the spring. I never touch them in the spring. We let the little, we get lots of birds' nests. And so, yeah, we let the robins and whatever do their thing in there. Doves primarily, robins, we see a lot of those nests. In the fall, though, if I see them, I'll pull them out. I'm not looking for them, though. I don't go through and,
Yeah, they're abandoned at that point, right?
yeah,
Right.
yeah, they're abandoned at that point. And so what'll happen is we get them, we take them in and we process.
And they
They'll shake them,
out.
and they'll come out. Then sometimes they don't. And I remember when we would get a Christmas tree at one point in the past, and there'd be a bird's nest in there. Trudy'd be thrilled.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. It's like if there were cones on the Christmas tree, we'd be thrilled by that as a consumer,
Right.
a customer. But no, we want to get those things out of there if we can.
I do think that some customers probably, I've seen photos of people tag us on Facebook, and because they found they took a picture of their decorated tree with the bird's nest in it.
Yep.
And they seem pretty thrilled about it. So I
Yep.
think it just
Yep.
depends on the customer, but
Yeah. I think most people probably would. It's cool to see it.
Yeah.
Especially look at a robin's nest. It's really cool to see how they've made that thing.
yeah.
It's
That's-
amazing.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
they're
one of
so well built and sturdy.
And that's why you don't see very many mourning dove nests, because they make lousy nests. And so you shake that thing just a little bit, and
And it
those
just
things
falls
fall
apart.
apart. Yeah. So if you find a nest in your tree and it's just like, what is this thing? It's probably a mourning dove nest.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But they don't do any damage to the tree or
No.
disfigure anything.
No, they really don't. They go in and out, but they don't do anything. The only thing that a bird really does, and robins are bad for this, is in the springtime, as that new growth, that new leader is growing, they'll light on that leader, and their weight, as light as they are, will
enough.
either break it or bend it, and usually they'll break it because when they take off, they're jumping off kind of thing, and they're so weak because they're brand new, and they'll break off. So you break your leader off, now you got to wait another year for that leader to grow back.
Right.
I remember my mentor Carl Young, he would get so angry at those birds, like a crow or something would come light on that leader. He'd get so mad at that because they'd break
Just
them,
robbed
and
you
now
a year of.
you just lost a year of growth when you run that leader.
So for the uninitiated, what is the purpose of the leader and the importance of the leader?
Yeah, so the leader is the where you put your top ornament on.
Yep.
That leader that's going straight up, or that limb that's going straight up, that's what's called the leader. And that sets the tone for the rest of the tree. And we're kind of getting into a little bit of our second topic today, and that's topping the tree. But you want that leader. That leader dictates how the rest of the tree is going to grow. It sets whorl if it's a white pine. If it's not a white pine, it's setting bud all the way up that leader. And so you want that bud, you want those buds to be healthy. And especially at the very top, you want that bud set at the top to be really healthy. Because if that tree doesn't sell the next year, that's your new growth. That's starting the next
Layer of
part of
branches,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, so you really want that to be in good shape. So we'll spend a lot of time on the leaders and that first whorl underneath the leaders.
So when it comes to weed management, can you list off the top of your head, good luck doing that, but maybe we'll help you, but what are some tools involved with that chore, that task?
Yeah. Well, for sure, the obvious one is a mower. And so the mower that we use, a John Deere F735, it's an old mower, 1998. We have 3 of them, but it has an offset of about 14 to 18 inches or so that allows us to get up underneath the tree. So that's one tool. From a management point of view, another is a clipper. So we have clippers on each of our tractors. And I usually, when I'm out there walking the trees, I have a clipper with me. And so we can
They're like
clip the
what,
weeds.
2-inch
It's
garden pruner type thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a hand shear.
Yeah.
Garden pruner, I think, is a good way of putting it. But what that is used for is to cut the weeds down, especially the bigger weeds. So your lamb's quarter right now is getting big if you let it grow. The horseweed or mare's tail, a different name for the same weed, that can get really hard in the September, October timeframe. If you're not cutting that thing down, you need a hand clipper to get that out of there. For sure, you need the hand clipper for your grapevine, because that you can't just pull that out. It's got a great root system on it, so you have to clip that off. And then your mulberry, the mulberry, you have to clip that because it's got such a strong root system to it. So that's another tool. And then the other tool that we use is a what I call a sickle. It's not like the sickle that you think about for hay, where it has a curved blade on it and you got a big massive thing that you swing. It is a wooden tool that has a blade on it about this long, that's serrated on both sides. And so you can use that and not have to bend over. You can swing it and whack the weeds, and you guys help me do that.
It works great. It works really great, and you know it's sharp if you hit yourself.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And that blade is slightly offset a little bit, so that it's kind of like an L a little bit.
Right. It's kind of like,
so that when you swing it, you can get underneath the tree.
Correct.
The limbs
Correct.
and stuff.
Right. Yeah. So you've got the long handle, and then you have an extension. It runs long ways, and then that's what slides up underneath the tree.
Yeah.
And yeah, that does a really nice job for us, but you got to be careful with that. I remember the first time I started using it, I was out in field 2B here, and I was knocking down velvet leaf. It's a weed called velvet leaf that we don't see much anymore. And so I'm using that thing to cut them down, and you got to learn your swing, because if you're not careful, you're going to hit the tree either right next to it or across the row on either side. If you take big swings,
oh yeah,
and it'll cut those limbs right off. So over the years, that's you had to learn how to deal with that. But interestingly, that reminds me that over the years, velvet leaf we no longer see much of, because we do weed management and we really keep our weeds down. I don't see any more of that. Canadian thistle, I don't see much of that. A little bit of that, but not nearly what we used to see, especially up here in the very front. What we call our field 4 was it was pervasively covered in Canadian thistle, and now it's hardly ever out there. The one that we can't seem to get a handle on is mare's tail, and then ragweed. I just can't. That just always is coming back. Lamb's quarter, a little bit better on lamb's quarter, but ragweed is just as pervasive out there as is mare's tail.
Yeah. Mare's tail, prolific seeder. How many seeds does?
Well, I've heard in our Christmas tree meetings, they've talked 10,000 seeds per weed,
which is crazy.
Oh yeah. So we're all over trying to at least control that weed a little bit. So those are the tools.
Are pretty much the tools. Also, like neoprene gloves are probably a good idea.
Yeah. I always wear neoprene gloves.
And long sleeves.
And long sleeves. Yep. Because you got to get up under there and get that poison ivy out, or the Virginia creeper. And if you're not wearing long sleeves, you're gonna have a comfortable evening in a couple of days.
I was gonna say a few evenings.
Yeah, in a couple of days, it's gonna hit you, and it's gonna hit you hard. So for me and Trudy, we both really get covered with it, and every year we get 3 or 4 episodes of poison ivy. So it just happens.
So far, so good on my end.
Yeah.
All right, so I think that just about covers it for step 4. So we can move on to step 5, shaping and topping the trees. Which do you think is June through August a good time frame for that?
Yeah, actually, July. July is the month, I'm going to say. So when we had white pine, so let me back up. when we say shearing and topping the trees, yeah, I think you're right, because the topping is done later. So July, August is really where that is. What's happening there is we're shaping the tree. So once it starts growing, and the growing season for a Christmas tree is from when they break bud. Some trees will break bud earlier than others, but the Canadian fir, which is the one we have the most of, usually will break bud in early to mid-May. Now, why is that important? Frost. Because if it breaks bud and you have a freeze, it kills the bud.
Which we experienced this year.
Oh yeah, we did. We did. And we experienced that primarily on Turkish fir.
Yep.
Yep, because Turkish fir breaks bud earlier, so they're susceptible. And sure enough, we did. We had a couple of episodes where it froze after the buds broke. But what happens is then in that month of May and June, for about 8 weeks, rapid growth. And so you just see those things, easily.
Easily.
You know, on the sides, 8 to 15 inches. On the top, we can get as much as 3-4 feet of growth.
So it's growing about that much all around the entire tree.
Yeah.
Right.
So where you see it at the Christmas season, it's nice and clean and shaped. After those 8 weeks, it is one fuzzy bear.
Right.
So it needs a haircut, and you can tell it needs a haircut.
Right, because not every branch grows the exact same amount.
Oh yeah,
Right.
yeah,
So it's just uneven. Looks
Right.
like a bad bush.
yeah. Look. I won't say a bad bush, but it does look bushy.
An unkempt bush.
An unkempt bush. Now, some people, Europeans in particular, they don't shape their trees, and they don't do anything to them. And so it has a very natural look to it. Some will look at that heavily shaped tree and say it's too artificial.
Right.
It looks too fake. I get that. I get that. But that's not what Americans like. Americans like nice, neat, shapely trees.
Do you think there's any market for here, at least where we are in Ohio, for anyone that would want a more natural looking tree?
I would say there's a slight market, a very small market. So then the risk is if you don't shape the tree, then you can't shape the tree later, because you can only cut the new year's growth. If you cut into secondary growth from last year, as an example, that it will no longer grow. So that's the problem. If you don't sell those, then what do you do with them? And I used to get, when we first opened, 1 or 2 people a year would ask that question. I hadn't had that question asked in years. So I don't think there's enough of a market to warrant doing that.
That's interesting. I wonder why, like in Europe, it's more, people favor more natural trees, and then here they don't. I wonder what the history behind that is.
Well, it's probably because here they've always been shaped, or at least they started to get shaped, and then people liked that, and that's what they gravitated toward. Whereas for some reason there, that never happened. That's just a guess. I may be completely wrong on that, but not sure. Yeah. So the shearing is done in the July timeframe, and so there's a rule of thumb that says if you're growing pine, you want to shear that tree no later than the 4th of July. The reason for that is pines, all their buds are set at the tips. So remember, you're going to go through there and you're going to be whacking this tree.
Yep.
What you're doing is you're cutting all the tips off. So if you do it by July, the 4th of July, 4th of July is just a simple rule of thumb. But early July, then the tree will reset those buds. Amazing. I just think it's so cool. So by late August, you go back out there and you look at that white pine that you sheared, or back in early July, it'll have new bud that has been set on it, so that in the spring it'll expand and grow. The Lord's mysterious in that way, and so I think that is so
And that's only
cool.
with white pine?
No, it's only with any pine. All pines will set their bud at the end of the limb, as opposed to a fir and a spruce, which set their bud all along the limb.
Yeah.
Okay, so from a management perspective, what that says is I can shear that tree anytime after it starts hardening off, after it stops growing. I can shear it anytime afterward, and I'm not going to affect the spring growth because it grows those buds all along the limb. So the other rule of thumb for spruces and firs is that you do your shearing by September. The truth is you can go all the way until before bud break. So we can go all the way into the winter or further if we want to.
So you could do it in February, March.
Yeah, in early spring if we wanted to. So Shea Powers, the guy that does our shearing for us, he stays busy all the way up through November because he's shearing firs and spruces. And on firs and spruces, so you can go as long as you need to. So it's a very interesting dynamic there that you got to be aware of. If you're not aware of that, and I have before Shea came along, and just when I was doing it by myself, I was using what's called a Seiji machine. It's an 8-foot tall. It looks like a hedge trimmer that oscillates. It looks really mean looking. It looks
awesome like something
machine.
out of a horror movie.
Yeah, and you strap that thing on my back, and then I wheeled it and go around the tree. But I was doing that in late August on my white pines because I just couldn't get to them.
Oh, geez.
And they still set bud.
Really?
Yeah, it was not the greatest bud set, but they did set bud. So just again, it shows you how resilient those trees are to make sure that they're going to regrow in the springtime. So that was pretty cool. So yeah, the idea for us, we try to get everything done in the July timeframe. So when our shearers come to us, they finish everything in 2 days. So where it would take me weeks on end with that Seiji machine to do those trees, 15,000 trees, and even the little ones, you're walking around them and making sure that you're getting that growth, getting them in that shape, they can do in now 2 days. And so that's a tremendous time saver. And it's at the time where it's perfect for us. And so those trees, there's only about 8 weeks when they look kind of bad.
Right.
And then other than that, they look great because they're nice and clean. And so that's what's happening there. That's the shearing.
And then once they shape the trees, those trees, I mean, by this point in the year, they're not growing anymore, right?
Right, no. The exception would be concolor, and they call it cameling or llama growth. I'm not entirely sure why they call it that. But for your concolor, the leaders have a tendency to add new growth after that. So that's the one species that tends to want to continue growing a little bit later. I've not seen that recently. So I think he comes the third week in July. So I think he's coming late enough that we're not getting that effect anymore.
So if I remember right from some of the meetings that we went to for the Christmas Tree Association, the way that you shape a younger tree is not the same that you shape a, say, 6-foot tree. There's aggressiveness levels essentially to how you're shaping the tree.
Yeah.
And that's solely based on aesthetics and appeal and look for the customer.
Yeah.
Right?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
So the owner oftentimes is the one that dictates that. And like Shea will ask me, do you want a tight shear or do you want a loose shear? And what he means by that is on a loose shear, he's not going to take as much off. And that means it has a potential to get a little bit bushy if you're not careful with it. A tight shear keeps it really, really tight. So you're taking most of that new growth off all the way around and having a real nice 70-degree taper on the tree. That may be too much, especially for spruces. For spruces, you put a tight shear on it, it does look fake. So that's where the looser shearing just helps to relax the tree a little bit. And some growers like that. I am about halfway in between.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't like them too loose, but I don't like them too tight either. Shea knows that, and he shapes them exactly the way I want them.
Yeah.
Shay, just to give some context, he and a team travel from, what is it, Michigan?
Yep.
All the way down into Georgia.
Yep.
And they hit throughout those months, the summer late into the November timeframe, they're hitting all the Christmas tree farms, and they're just going to each one and trimming all their trees. So how do you book Shay?
Yeah, so he, I'll send him a text, or he'll send me a text, one of the two, in early spring, saying, "Hey, this is when I'm planning on coming out. Still a good time for you?" So yeah, we kind of firm that up loosely, and then about 3 weeks prior, I'm texting him just confirming that he's still on, and sometimes it changes by a week, you know, plus or minus a week, depending on just what's going on, and it's also depending on weather. If they get a lot of rain, you know, they slow down doing it. If they get a lot of heat, you know, they're out there all day long swinging these blades, and so it's hard on them, and so they'll take a little bit of time off in between jobs, that kind of thing. But he had a 5-man crew this year, and they use long knives, and they're about 4 feet long, and the blade is maybe 24 to 36 inches, and they have one on each hand. And they're just going right at it. And these things are ultra sharp.
Oh,
and they're constantly sharpening them. But they slice through a tree like butter. And if it's the new growth is very easy to slice through. White pine, that was the one they didn't like because it was already starting to harden off in the early July timeframe, but they weren't coming until mid-July, and it was starting to harden off. They didn't like doing white pine. And that would be the very first ones that they would do.
Yeah.
But we've done away with the white pine.
Right. This past year.
Yeah, this past year. Yeah, so that works out for them. Yeah.
Why did you decide to outsource that particular chore? Because that's the only thing you outsource is the shaping of the trees. So why did you pick that one?
Yeah, that's a good question. To be perfectly honest, I was not able to really continue doing it. The Sage Machine, 2 reasons. The Sage Machine did a nice job on the firs and spruces. On the pine, especially the white pine.
Sure, it jammed up a lot.
No.
No?
I never had a jamming problem with it.
Really?
Amazing.
Have you ever used it?
No, I've only seen you use it.
Oh yeah.
Maybe 2 or 3 times, because you've been using Shay for a number of years.
Oh yeah. Well, you got to get used to it, and keeping control of the 8-foot blade as you're going around taking your steps.
Right. Try not
easy, and you want to dig into the tree. Not easy to do. So it just takes some time. I mean, it's not complicated, but you just need a little bit of time to do that. So, and then I was working full time, and so it would take me literally weeks and weeks. It took, 4 weeks, if not longer, to do the 15,000 trees. And so I'd be just dead tired going to work, be tired at work. That's never a good thing.
Right.
And especially with what I was doing, I needed to have my brain working. And it was physically hard on my hips, especially because the unit weighs, it's about a 30-pound backpack, motor, gas, all that stuff on it. But the front end weighs equally 30 pounds.
Right. Which is that's a lot of weight to be holding.
Yeah.
At that angle.
And it is. But you have a couple things that helps you with that. And one is it's got this, so it's a backpack that rests on your shoulder. And then the way you connect it, the weight is on your hips.
Right.
So that's the important piece.
Kind of like a rucksack.
Yeah. And then it has this arm that comes over and has a long lanyard that holds the 8-foot hedger
right
on it. So all that is on the frame, which is on your hips. So after a night of doing that for about 3 hours, I could hardly walk the next day. Now, once 4 or 5 days you got that done, my hips were fine, and it just had to get used to it. But to answer your question, it was just really hard. And as I was getting older, it got harder and harder, and working, like I said, full time also, it was too much. And so that was one thing that I could offload if I could find a crew that I really liked. And it just so happens that he sent me something. I don't know how that worked out.
Okay.
But he sent me something and asked if we were interested. And I said, yeah, you bet I'm interested.
So he reached
It's
out.
expensive.
Yeah, he reached out to you. And,
He found me. He found me. I did not find him.
Right. So it wasn't you looking for a solution. It was
No,
it was
he
God
found
sending
me.
you a message.
Yes. Oh yeah, yeah. That's a good way of putting it. And
So-
sometimes it has to be a blatant message, but yeah, he was telling me, hey, let's do this. So it's a function of trade-off. You know, am I willing to spend the thousands of dollars that it costs to do that versus the time and the effort and all that kind of good stuff. And
so he uses those blades and versus you were using the sage machine. So did you at any point try the blades?
I did. Let me mention one thing on the saging machine that I forgot to mention. And that is that on the white pines, it browned the trees. I figured out many years later, in fact, it was just this past year, figured out why. So I was using a sewing machine oil and spraying it to keep it,
Right,
to keep
lubricated.
it going. Lubricating? Well, the tree didn't like that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of an obvious thing, but tree didn't like. They now have a plant-based spray that you can spray on there, which I have, and that won't do that. But the white pine, only the white pine, I would go around that tree, and in about 2 weeks, it would look brown, and it would stay brown all the way. Not a brown, but
Right.
you can tell it was discolored all the way through the Christmas season. So not many people wanted white pine when it looked like that.
Well, and white pine doesn't stay like green.
No,
anyways.
yeah, because the secondary growth
Right.
starts falling off in November. Yep, so it's already got a couple things working against it. So that was that. The knives, did I try the knives? Yes, I did. I got 2 knives. My problem was I couldn't get the blade sharp. I'm just not good at sharpening a blade, and these are long blades. And I, when Shay, the first year he was here, I asked him to show me how you sharpen these things, and he just and it's done. I tried it, could not get it to work, and the shoulder strength that is needed is pretty intense.
That's it.
And I was way too old to start using my shoulders that much.
Right. They're not particularly heavy, but when you're swinging those 10, 20,000 times.
Right. Now, I was 60 at the time. That was 8 years ago when he started coming. I was 60 then, and that's no, my shoulders wouldn't have handled that. So I didn't even try to do that. Had I been able to sharpen them, I would have given it a go. Only because I'm stupid enough to give it a go. But
I would think the saging machine, that's really hard on your. You mentioned your hips, but I tried it for a little bit, but I thought my back was giving out after a while.
Oh, really? Yeah, I just wonder if it was
maybe it wasn't
on your
seated
hips.
properly.
Seated, yeah, because that's where the weight belongs. If you're feeling it in your back, then the weight's not quite adjusted right.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
And Nicole tried it out. You tried it.
Oh, really?
Nicole did it one time.
How'd she like it?
I don't think she liked it, but she did pretty good. She put that thing on and she got around the tree, and she did a couple of trees, and it was Norway spruce. So I let her do the Norway spruce, and because they're a nice tree to use on that, because if you get it right, they look beautiful, just beautiful.
Where did you get that? Because that is such a unique and niche machine.
Yep. So the first one, I got it from a guy in Cincinnati that I found. It was an old unit, already really super old. And that was that first year that I used it. I liked it so much and felt that I needed it. And if it broke down, I had no backup. I bought a new one. So I got a hold of the company that still made them. They no longer exist. So I don't know who owns the rights to manufacture that machine anymore. So I have 2 of them. Yeah.
I'm not mad that you outsourced that.
I'm not mad either. Yeah, I bet you're not, because who'd be doing it.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, it'd be the 2 of you, man. Yeah.
Yeah. That's Yeah.
So what about the topping of the trees?
Yeah, okay. So that's what I'm getting ready to do next. So Shay comes out and as he's doing the shearing, he's topping the trees. So he knows exactly what to do with that. So he does a really good job of topping.
That's the last thing he does, right? Per
yeah,
tree.
that's exactly right. He goes all the way around. That's the last thing he does. But I want to adjust some of them. He'll leave the leader long.
Yeah.
And some of them are disproportionately long. And so if I'm a customer and I look at that, I'm thinking, because we sell by the inch.
Right.
So it looks like I'm trying to,
Yeah, squeeze every dollar you can.
squeeze everything out of the tree. And so I don't like that. So I go in there and I'll cut them back to keep that taper. So you'll see it. I mean, once you look at the tree, you see
Right.
the taper. It should have a natural stopping point.
Right.
And so I'll go ahead and cut those. Will I hit every one of them? No, I'll miss some. But that's the idea. But topping is important because once you get the top right, especially the leader and then that first set of branches underneath the leader, that's the top. When you say topping the tree, that's what you're doing, is you're cutting those. Some farms don't like for Shay, or people like Shay coming out there to top the tree at all. They say, leave it alone, I'll do it. That kind of thing. That's how important it is. But a professional, he knows what he's doing, and he's been doing our trees, and he says, if I'm topping it, if that tree is not shaping up well, that's bad on me.
Right.
And I love that he recognizes that.
Yeah,
that
takes
part
ownership of it, which
yeah,
is nice.
he does, because he takes pride, because every year that tree, as it grows, it's reflecting how it was sheared the year before.
Right.
And so he wants to make sure that he does a good job on it. And then I want to make sure that everything is exactly right. So that's what I'll be doing, is I'll be hitting every tree, looking at the top. And if I need to clean it up, I'll clean it up. Yeah, so that's the topping aspect of it. Takes a little bit of time.
So you're just if you spot a tree where the leader's a little too tall or it's not matching that taper that you want.
Yep.
Then then you're trimming it up and you're cutting it down.
Right.
But you're not doing that to every single one.
Not
Like
to
how
every single one.
many do you think?
Oh, probably 20%.
20%.
Yeah, probably 20%. And then another challenge that you have is when your tree throws out multiple leaders. And they'll do that. Canadian fir is very common in doing that. They'll have 3-4 leaders.
Right.
So you got to take 3 out of the 4 out. Which ones do you take out? Well, Shay's already done a lot of that, but sometimes he's not. Like when we get into these big trees back here, they can't reach the top, so all of them need to be topped. So figuring out which one of those is going to go is ideally you take the time to look at that. Now some of these are going to be so tall we can't reach them.
Right.
And so we'll be using a long extension clipper to clip those off.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, that's the general idea with the topping.
which, and I mean, Shay can reach pretty high up.
Yeah,
which
about
is
10
nice.
feet.
Yeah.
About 10 feet.
Which-
Yeah, so you got that 4-foot blade. Yeah, they can reach up pretty good.
Yeah.
What are some things you have to do, if anything, to prepare? Because essentially, Shay and his team are just coming to the farm and they're doing their job. But is there anything that you have to do to prepare for that? I know I have one thing written down. That's ordering a porta potty for them.
Which I didn't do this year.
Oh, really?
I
didn't
noticed
do
that
this year.
Did you forget
Yeah.
or?
I did. I
Oh,
did. I
no.
completely forgot. And with the price of porta potties these days, most of the time where they go, this is the only place of all the places they go. This is the only place that has a porta potty for them, and that's for reasons obvious that we don't want all that junk out there. But they were only here for 2 days, and those things cost $270.
Yeah, I looked at prices to buy a porta potty just to see, because you
Right.
could do that and it would easily pay for itself, but you also have to manage, like maintain it and clean it and
Yeah.
stuff.
Right.
Waste management and everything like that, because we talked about that as
We
well.
did. We sure
Because
did.
you also rent one during the season for
Yep,
customers
I just
too.
rented it, so I've got one will be coming here for our church picnic,
Hmm.
and then the month that or the 4 weeks that we're open.
How far in advance do you book that out?
So I booked those now. I literally booked it 2 days ago, and I just got the invoice today. So yeah. So I
Is that
schedule
just to
those
get
out.
it, just to check it off your list, or
Yeah,
is it because they?
It is just to check it off my
They're
list.
not in that high
I
demand.
should have done it in advance, even earlier. No, they're not, unless you wait. If you wait like the weekend before,
Right.
you're not going to get
Right.
it. But no, I just do it out of convenience, try to get it done, and therefore that's another thing I don't have to think about a little bit later on.
But there's, I mean, is there anything else you have to prepare for?
No, there is, some training that I've gotten through the Ohio Christmas Tree Farm on how to top, because you just don't go out there. You have to know where to cut, how to cut it, because there's a certain thing that you do to cut to make sure that you preserve that top bud. And so just little techniques that the farmers over the years have learned and they're willing to share at the Christmas tree associations. And each person has a little bit different technique, that kind of thing, but ultimately they're helping you understand what to cut when things look weird. How do you attack it? That kind of thing. Because they grow weird. Sometimes you get a very odd looking top, and you got to know how to deal with that so that you get the leader growing the way you want the leader to grow.
Right. Over the years, I've noticed that the leader is cut at a 45-ish degree angle.
Yeah, that's right.
What is the purpose in an angled cut versus a flat cut?
Yeah. So what we're doing is an angle cut, and it's about a ½ inch above the bud, the closest bud. And supposedly they just grow better that way than a flat cut.
Okay.
I don't know the science behind it or the biology of the stem enough to understand why that's important. I just know that that's the way it's done.
Okay.
And it may be that that's the way it's been done before.
Right.
And
So
there's
that's
not
how
a
we do
good,
it.
and there's no good reason. But I don't know that for sure,
Okay.
in all honesty. But every time we've been trained, cut that at a 45-degree angle, they'll
Well,
say.
Even if people are like, when they're getting their Christmas trees from the processing room and they said, I want to trim my leader or whatever, we tell them cut it at a 45. So I'm just curious if there was a legitimate justification that's science-based.
Yeah, I don't know. And frankly, the tree's dead.
Right. So it doesn't
matter. You can cut it flat. You can do whatever you want. But there's cutting out at 45 is going to do them no good. Yeah.
So moving on to step 6, which is ordering the seedlings, and I have a time frame of July through August for that.
Yep.
So want to walk us through that?
Yeah. So when we say order seedlings, we're talking about working with a Christmas tree nursery to get the kind of seedlings that we need come springtime. Why then? So I do mine in July. I've already ordered. I've already got a set order in. The reason is because most farms will order by September. If you wait till September to order a tree, you're too late.
Yeah.
You are too late. You're not getting it. So that's why July.
You're not getting the quality that you're looking at.
Yeah, or you're hunting
Right.
for some seedlings.
Whoever's available.
Whoever's available. And now you just lost the quality thing.
Right.
This year, so I ordered in early July. This year, the company that we order our seedlings from, our Canine fir seedlings, we get a SP15. So it's a 15-month-old tree that's been grown in with all the soil intact. It's a really nice product. They discontinued it this year.
The SP15?
The SP15s didn't let us know. Just when we got our notice from them, I'm looking through there. Where's the SP15s? They're not there. So I called, and she said, "Yeah, we discontinued those for this year. The transportation, because they grow them out in Oregon and ship them back here.
Right.
Transportation cost was too high, and we just felt that we could grow them ourselves in ellie pots." And so that's what they did.
So next year they'll have them because they're grown in themselves, hopefully.
No, well, this year they'll have the ellie pots, which is an 80 millimeter ellie pot. And the cost was almost double, almost double. So that put us in quite a pickle. So I really was upset about that. I contacted another grower who I know uses the same product. So did you know this? They didn't. So we both kind of attacked a little bit, understood the logic and the reasoning, that just didn't let us know. So I had to go looking. So I found an 80 millimeter Ellie pot grown canine fur seedling up in Michigan. And so we're going to try them at a price that is less than the SP15s that we were purchasing. Now, quality is the key thing,
Right.
And so I don't have a choice here, or I can pay the exorbitant price, I think. So I'm going to see. We're going to see how these guys do. And like I told our first vendor, I told her, you know, hey, we're doing this. We're going to this other place. And here's the reason why. So I explained to her that, you know, we weren't happy with the fact that they didn't let us know, and that the price was high.
Yeah.
And then we're going to try this to diversify, because I don't want to be caught in this situation again.
Right.
So that's what we're going to do.
So the other one that we did that we lost a lot of was Turkish fur?
No, concolor fur.
Concolor.
So that one, so concolor fur, I've had a lot of problem finding a good source for concolor fur. And so this place that I'm going to this year for the canine fur also has 80 millimeter LE pots for concolor.
Okay.
So I've got those as well coming in. The past 2 years, we've gotten terrible results. I even tried a place in Wyoming this year to see if I could get some decent ones from them. And unfortunately, they came in better than the year before.
Yes.
The year before was horrendous. These came in better than the year before, but we planted them in early April. And April of this year, which is normally a very heavy rain month, was dry almost the entire month.
Yeah.
They all died.
Yep.
They all died. So you know, we lost a year of opportunity there. Yeah. So then what happens is once we order them, then they have to confirm the order. And so I am still waiting for them to confirm the order, which means that they then do an inventory of their stock to make sure that they're going to have sufficient numbers to meet the demand. And then they, so I'm waiting for her to let me know how that goes. She's saying there's not a problem. The order should be fine. So this other Christmas tree grower has gone in with us to buy, to get the lower rate, and because volume,
Right.
they do a volume discount. So we're getting a much better rate, and then it's way cheaper for us to travel up there, spend the night, load them up in the trailer down here, and bring them back.
Okay.
Much cheaper than shipping. Yeah. So altogether, we're doing well.
Is it the same Christmas tree farm that we went and visited when we were talking?
No.
Not Christmas tree farm nursery.
Yeah. No. That's Van Pines.
Yeah.
Is that one? And no, we're not getting from them. But it is in the northern part of the Lower Peninsula.
Okay.
In Michigan. So we'll be doing that in the March timeframe. So that shouldn't affect the coffee hut.
And so you said that you did end up buying 80 millimeter LE pot.
We did.
Right. So which is the same as what the original nursery is switching to, right?
Yeah. They switched to that also, to the LE pot.
But these were cheaper, so that's why you went with them.
Yeah.
So is the SP15, would you say that's probably their number one? Isn't that like a popular product that they would sell?
I thought so. I thought so, but I think what they're trying to do is to establish the LE pot business side of it. So the difference in LE pot is basically, and they come in different sizes. There's a 30 millimeter that they sell and an 80 millimeter. So an 80 millimeter is 3.1 inches. So that fits. That was my other concern was,
right. Is this going to mess up our
this going to mess up our process? Yeah. So fortunately, no. So it's slightly bigger than 3 inches. We have a 3-inch auger that we're using. But what that is It's grown in a fabric, and the fabric you can put in the ground and it decomposes.
Right.
What that fabric does is that allows the roots to grow outward,
And air prune.
and they air prune.
Yeah.
So when you put them in the ground, they're ready to grow outward as well as downward. The SP15s, if you remember when we took those things out, we looked at them, there was a bunch of roots at the very bottom
Yeah,
that
it
were
was
cut
root
off.
bound.
Yeah, and so that's the problem with the SP15s. It was cheaper. They did well, had soil, intact soil to them, but they were grown in a tube, and therefore they weren't air pruned.
Right.
So the roots would grow, and then as soon as they hit the side, they would go down. And so you had roots pointing downward, which is good. There's nothing wrong with that. But then you did get that side growth. I think this is gonna be better for us. I've planted some lily pots in the past, and they've done okay. You know,
You haven't seen a huge difference between
not
the two.
a huge difference. Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll have to see how that's
It's
going to
also a
go.
little concerning that when they clip for the SPs, when the root system goes down and they clip that, I mean, that is like growth and like important established growth.
Yeah, but that's no different than the bare root.
Yeah.
So in the bare root, that's exactly what happened. And in
Right.
fact, that's what we would do.
Yeah.
We'd get them. They've already been clipped. We get them and we'd clip them more, so that you don't have J rooting.
Yeah.
And so you can only put especially with your evergreens, if you put the root in there and it turns upward, if the hole is too shallow, and you put that root in there and it turns upward, that root will be dead. It won't grow. So you're cutting those off anyway. None of us like. But the air pruning, because it does it naturally itself, if you look at the tips are white on the roots, that's what you want. That's the growing part of that root. It'll have white all over it. And so that's going to be really helpful, I think. So lily pots, that's the big advantage to them. The disadvantage to lily pots is that you have more soil, which means you have more weight, which
Right.
means the cost of transportation is more.
Significantly more, yeah.
So how do you decide how many you need to order? Because
That's
right
a
now
great
it's
question.
August. You said you did this in July, early July, but you're ordering for next spring. So how do you know how many to order?
Great question.
Can I add to it real quick?
Yeah.
How do you decide to order, how many to order, and do you do a certain percentage over what you count, essentially?
Yeah, so we don't yet know what our count is going to be, how many seedlings are actually going to die. The vast majority of our seedlings have already died that are going to die,
Right.
for the most part. August, September, July, August, September are our dry months, typically. This month in particular has been very unusual, but usually this is the dry time of year. This is when we lose our seedlings.
Right.
So I can't do a count today and have it be reliable to order from. I won't do that. I'll actually do my actual count just before the selling season, just before the end of November. And I do that for a couple of reasons. But that will tell me what my hard number is going to be. So it's a guess. So at this point, what I do is I decide what are the species that I want to make sure that I'm replanting. And as you guys know, we've gone from 12 species of firs, multiple spruces, multiple pines. We no longer are doing pines at all. So white pine, Scotch pine off the list. Too problematic, disease, problems, fungus problems, all those kinds of things.
Well,
Not a
and
huge
we're
seller.
not moving them like
And
that.
we're not moving them.
Right.
Another good point. So that's off the list. Spruces, off the list. We still have some Colorado blue spruce, but we can only sell them in a small window, and it doesn't make sense to continue to grow those because of needle retention. That's the big problem with those. So that leaves us our firs, and our firs grow well. Concolor fir, Korean fir, Turkish fir, and Canaan fir. Canaan fir is by far our most popular. we were growing a fair amount of Korean fur. That is considered an exotic, and its management is not as consistently responsive as is any of the other furs. And so when I grew those, the vast majority of them, especially as they were getting older, they didn't do well. They did the tops. You couldn't control the tops. And so we had these wonky tops on them. So I quit growing Korean fur. And so now Turkish fur, Canine fur, concolor fur. The concolor and the Canine grow rapidly, relatively so. The Turkish fur, very, very slow growing. That's my problem with Turkish, but I need to have more of a diversity
Right.
as possible so that we don't let disease hinder us. We've had that happen to two of our species. The Scotch pine and the Colorado blue spruce both got funguses in them that caused us to have to take all them down.
Right.
So that can happen. And so we've got to be careful not to put all our eggs in a single basket. And so that's why I'm keeping Turkish fur going. So those are the three that I'm ordering. So what I did was I just basically say, I'm going to order 2,000 Canine fur, 400 concolor fur, and 400 of Turkish fur. I'll order those. And then I send in a deposit, 25% deposit. Okay, then what happens is in November, we'll get a much better count. But that's not the count I'm going to go with yet. What I use that count for is at the end of the selling season, at the end of December, I'll do yet another count. And that's confirming the number of trees that we sold. We know what Square will tell us, but then I want to compare that with the actual number of holes that are out there.
Right.
So I can do that by getting it's that December, the end of December number. That's the one that I'm going to use to say, all right, I need to adjust my order. And usually I order enough over that I am adjusting downward.
Right. So
because they'd be already taken.
Right.
And so if I need more, now I'm hurting. So that's the idea. That's
So
the
they
process.
let you reduce your order after you've already placed it?
They do, yeah.
Is there a limit to that, or is it pretty open?
It's pretty open. I've never had them question it. I think a lot of people do that because we have to order so early that there's no way that we would actually know what we're going to need. And so I think that's a standard expectation from the nursery growers, is that your Christmas tree growers are going to adjust their numbers.
And you mentioned that you went in with another farmer to place your order. Have you done that before with this particular farmer? And will he also, I'm assuming he'll also reduce his order too. So is that going to be a problem?
When you say he'll reduce his order, what do you mean by reduce his order?
He'll adjust the number of trees that, so he does the exact same thing. That
Yeah. I'm sorry. Absolutely. Yeah, he'll do the same thing because it's the same process. He's dealing with the same things I am. So he'll likely adjust his order. Now we've got a total of 4,000 plus my 400 extra, so 4,400 trees that were seedlings that we have on order. So I imagine we'll adjust downward by a couple hundred trees.
Okay.
Not a whole lot.
Just to get an idea, how many did you order for this current spring?
Yeah, so the 2026 spring, I'd initially ordered 2,800 trees, and in the end, I had backed that off to 2,400.
Okay.
And I had 2,400 come in, and we planted 2,396, something like that. And then we had the extra ones that others had died that I didn't expect die, and so we were able to use all of them.
Okay.
Yep. There have been years in the past where I've overshot the mark, and we had 80 extra trees, that kind of thing. We have had that situation.
What do you do in that situation?
Yeah, I give them away. Yeah, I give them away. The Pattons got a whole bunch, and they planted them out in the field, and unfortunately, they ended up mowing them down by accident because they didn't. The weeds, everything grew up, and they couldn't see them. But yeah, that's what I generally do. We'll offer them up to others.
Okay. Anything else you want to add to that step 6, ordering seedlings? Any other questions from you?
No, I think that pretty much covers it. And then I pay for them, just before I pick them up or when I pick them up. Most of the time, I'll have to send in my payment before I pick them up because there's a window that they're looking for to have all of that done. And then they could ship them, to us, or we can go and pick them up. And any of the nurseries offer that. They can ship them to you. We've picked up before. We went up to Van Pines. You've picked up for many years now. You've gone to our other source and picked up the trees because they're not far from Columbus.
Right.
And that worked out really well for us.
Yeah. How do you find these nurseries?
Yeah, important question. Because it's all about quality. And you can get some good. You have some good nurseries, and you have some nurseries that are wanting in the area of quality. Word of mouth is the biggest one, and so that's part of the big thing that we do at our Christmas tree associations is we're sharing. Hey, this is a great place. Good quality trees like Berkey's. I used to get my seedlings from Berkey's when we were doing bare root.
Right.
Absolutely the best at producing it. I am willing to pay top dollar for good quality seeds or seedlings. Why? Because mortality rates. If I induce the reasons why the seedling dies on me,
Right.
but I don't want to get a bad quality product and have them die on me.
Right.
The
'Cause you're a
very
step
first
behind
year,
immediately.
the very first year we had that happen. We got some a species. We planted them out there, 200 of them. We planted them out there, and within a week they were all dead. Most of them did. About 80% completely died. So I had to go back and forth with these guys to get my money back on that one. But here we lost 200 seedlings that we couldn't do anything with,
and lost a year.
and lost absolutely. So yeah, that's one thing we want to looking at. For the company that we had been working with, they have what I consider the best quality canine fur seed source, and they have the rights to the seed source that is coming out of Ohio State that was from Canaan Valley in West Virginia for canine furs.
Right.
But you said they were grown in Oregon?
They're grown in Oregon, yeah. But they own the seed. They own the seed, and so they send the seed out to Oregon, and then they plant them in the SP15 pots and do their thing with them, and then they send them back.
Yeah.
But yeah, they have the seed source. So I understand. So this that's why it took me a long time to find this new company. I'm purposely not naming them because I don't yet know how it's going to work out, and I don't want to say anything about the other company that's bad.
Right.
Because they're not bad. They're very good at what they do. So I love them, and I hope we can return to using them. But the quality of seed, as I understand, I talked with the owner of this new seed source, and they also get them from Ohio State. So
Okay.
so somehow that's working out. So we'll
Interesting.
yeah. So I think I've got the seed source not nailed down on that. And then the concolor, the seed source is coming from the Santa Fe area of New Mexico, which is where they naturally grow.
Really?
Yep. Up in Santa Fe, the mountains all around Santa Fe, New Mexico, concolor fir. Beautiful concolor fir.
Oh yeah, I love that area.
Yeah, so that's where the seed source comes from.
Okay.
And that's what you want. I want that seed source. Yeah, so that's the important part. So this whole idea of quality and nurseries and knowing how they grow them and knowing most importantly, where does their seed stock come from? That's the driver. And that's what I'm looking for. And most Christmas tree farmers are willing to pay for a good quality product.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we should see if we can do a YouTube tour up there at this.
Oh, that might be interesting.
At this nursery.
Yeah.
Up in Michigan.
It's fascinating what how they grow them.
Oh,
especially at the volume, because we're talking millions of seedlings that these guys are dealing with, and so it's fascinating.
So that will basically take us into September, which is when we'll have the next step, and that's getting ready for the Christmas season. So we'll be talking about that here on an upcoming podcast once that starts happening for us. Otherwise, in the meantime, let's talk about what we did this past week on the farm. We had a lot of things happen.
So
where do you want to start?
Start at Saturday.
Yeah, start at Saturday.
At 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Let's start there.
Why on earth did we have to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning?
For a good cup of coffee. No, we did our processing of our first meat birds for sale. So started 4:30 in the morning, getting everything prepped, getting the water to temperature, getting you know, the room set up because we use my garage area and whatnot. So you and I started that one pretty early, got it done. Honing our skills is for sure something that took place that day.
We've had a couple practice runs before that, and this one was by far the smoothest.
By far the smoothest.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was pretty. When we started, like you said, or I woke up at 3. I got there at 5. That's when we started, and then I think I went home at 2:30. So we were working from 5 to 2:30.
right.
And then we had to come back because then the customers picked up their orders from 4 to 8. So we were here also from 4 to 8
right.
to work with them. And
so we
it was a
didn't
long
actually
day.
get the first bird in cone until probably 6:30.
Was it 6:30?
6:30 because
So
we came
we-
over and we did farm chores and
Yeah, we were
took
doing.
care of the
Oh,
birds and
yeah,
everything like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So there were other
It was
things
daylight
in the
out. I
mix.
remember that.
Right. So there were other things in the mix, and that was a good time to do it anyways because the water just got to temperature.
I'm
and,
pretty sure we heated up the water at 5 or roughly thereafter. And
right, which takes a little while.
Yeah, it takes a while.
For the equipment that we have to start a little bit earlier because it doesn't rapidly heat.
Yeah.
We've improved our methods and revised, but I think we have it fairly well honed in now.
Yeah.
So why did you have to get started so early?
So the scolder that we have takes a while to get water up to temp.
Understand that.
Yep. Pulling everything out because we do all the processing out.
What was driving you on the other end? So at
The 4 o'clock pickup time.
4 o'clock, right.
Right.
Yeah. So we had to get done and have all the chicken product ready for customers to pick up by 4 o'clock. So that was our window.
Right. And based on past performances on my end,
Well, just in general.
on my end, I was the slow cog in the wheel there.
It was all him.
Right. So the actual taking everything out of the bird and everything, I was pretty darn slow at the last few times that we've been doing it. And something clicked and I was able to actually keep pace with Kyle for the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you wanted to start super early to make sure that you got through not only eviscerating the chicken, but then once that's done, then you got to go through and you got to QC the chicken.
Yep. So cooling it, getting the body back down to temperature. So we're reducing the probability of any kind of bad bacteria.
Yeah, something like that.
Right. So you're throwing it in an ice bath, getting it down to temperature. It's got to sit there for a while.
Yep.
Then you're pulling them out, doing a QC, quick quality check to make sure you get all your pin feathers, you didn't miss anything, letting them dry, and then you're packaging them.
Yep.
So that's another round of heating up water.
And then you got to label them.
Yep.
And all that stuff. And you have all that done by 4 o'clock. And so you guys getting done at 2:30. Very
And
impressive.
cleanup.
And cleanup. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a significant
included
cleanup to
cleanup.
it. And that
Yeah.
included cleanup. So
But I
I
think-
was real impressed. I thought you guys did great.
I don't want to have to push us right up to that 4 o'clock deadline.
yeah.
So
Right. Oh, yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like 2:30 is like the perfect time to just,
Right.
because it allows us to have a break too, because it's a long day.
It's a long day.
And I had to go home and let my dog George out.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
And that gives us a chance to get breakfast and lunch.
right.
yeah, that's right. That's right.
And basically an early dinner.
Yeah.
So our customers may be, or our viewers may be wondering, where was I in this whole process?
Having fun.
Yeah. Where were you?
Yeah,
Partying.
where was I? Because I wasn't with you guys. So note to self, in the future, we got to make sure that our calendars jive. And unfortunately we didn't. And we had one of our largest days of the year where we served coffee at the Englewood Art Festival, Fine Arts Festival. That happened to fall on the same day as our first processing of the chickens. So my daughter Megan, thank goodness, she came out and helped.
Stepped up big time. Thank you,
And
Megan.
so the two of us managed the coffee hut at the Englewood Art and Fine Arts Festival,
Right.
which is a super busy day. So
Right.
we had our best day of the year there. And of course, the only days that top that are when it's here and during the Christmas season.
Right.
Yeah.
So that really was a very busy day. And so that's where we were. And I was there from 7 in the morning until 6. You came out to help me move the trailer at 6. And so that was a long day too.
Yeah. It's
Right.
also a really long day.
Yeah. Yeah. So we were all pulling pretty hard last Saturday. So
yeah,
it was
a long day.
it was a long
Well-deserved
day.
nap at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But I also want to mention that there was a lot of pre-planning that you had done. Both you guys had
Right.
done, but you in particular, a lot of pre-planning to make sure that everything was ready to go. We had all the ice that we need, and so you had to make like 25 to 30 bags of ice.
Yeah.
And you had all that ready to go, and all the equipment was ready, and so the good planning, I thought, was part of the execution being successful, and that really worked out well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, there was last minute adjustments. Like had to make the drying rack midweek and
Yeah.
couple
Which
times
turned out to
cleaning
be a
up.
good idea.
Oh,
That was a great idea. Yeah,
and I
it
can't
was a
believe
great
it
idea.
turned out. My wags turned out really well
Yeah.
on my measurements.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah,
Yeah.
that worked out good. And same thing for the coffee hut. There was a lot of pre-planning there too to make sure that we had everything we needed there, and we had backups on backups in case we ran out of things.
Right.
And so that worked out really well.
I was going to ask, did you end up wasting any coffee, pre-made coffee?
No,
You sold it all?
no, we sold it all.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
really
we
good.
sold it all.
Maybe
That
the
is so
first
hard to
time that's
predict.
ever happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. I made 50 cups, and I might have had 2 cups
Yeah.
left in the container at the end of the day.
Okay.
Yeah, it was terrific.
You can't.
That's
you
so.
can't beat that.
Black coffee is so hit and miss.
It is very much hit and miss. So fortunately, in the coffee hut, there is very little waste. So
Yeah.
we're very, very pleased with that. The only byproduct really is the coffee grounds, and then we recycle that.
Right. That all
Or
goes
that
into
goes into our
compost.
compost.
Yeah.
You know, so that's all goodness. Yep. So those are the 2 big things for Saturday.
Should
Yeah.
also want to mention that when it comes to the chickens, the only thing that went wrong that day wasn't anything that we did, but it was the weigh-in of each chicken was severely underweight. So we promised the customer 6 to 7 pounds. And then the average weight was around 4.5 pounds. So they
Right.
were undersized. For some reason, we really don't know why.
Right.
So we ended up having to refund each customer about $7 per chicken
Yeah.
to mitigate that. And that worked out. I don't think anyone was mad about that. So, and they
Yeah.
were pretty pleased with the refunds. So
Well, and the other side of that is we preemptively decided that we were going to refund a set amount of money based on the amount of weight that we promised and where they arrived. We did the math.
Right.
Said this is
That's
the
how we-
dollar amount
that's how we
that
got to
we're
7,
gonna we're gonna refund them.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that immediately, as soon as you show up and you see that your chicken's underweight, and they're like, "Hey, here's money back. We understand we didn't meet our end of the bargain here."
Right.
Yeah.
So that immediately disarms any kind of negative feedback that you could get,
Yeah.
because you realize that the producer of your product understands that they made a mistake or they dropped the ball in some way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and also because this was our first time ever selling
Yeah.
chickens, and so this is what I'm referring to as batch 1. And when we put batch 1 up for sale, we sold out in within the day. I think it was a matter of hours, probably
Right.
like 4, maybe 5 hours, which means those are some pretty primary customers.
Right, you
Like
don't-
those are your customers you want to keep happy.
Yeah, you
That's
don't want to
us
tick them
another
off
just-
day one.
Yeah.
They took a
absolutely.
chance on us too, you know.
Right. They took a chance on us,
Absolutely.
and so that was the right move. I mean, it was our profit plus some.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I
so,
dug
I
into
mean,
our
we really-
profits, and
yeah.
I wanted to mention that because it wasn't this is a new venture for us, and so that was one takeaway, is that we need to figure out why they came in underweight.
Yeah.
So I guess to help with that, it would be nice if we could back up the date of evisceration so that they have more time to grow, but we can't do that because at least not for the rest of this year, because we have 2 more batches left.
2 more batches.
And those are already, we've already started selling those. So those dates are set in stone. So the only thing we can do is up their feed.
Well, and we'll continue to do hot washes after every time we process.
Right.
Every thing that we do a hot wash and
Right.
constantly reevaluate how we're attacking something and if there's an adjustment that we can make on our end to better improve our final product.
Yeah.
And
And a hot wash is basically an assessment. Just, hey, what did we do good? What did we do bad? How can we improve? That kind of thing.
right.
Yeah, so we'll see how the next one goes, but
so, and that's, I mean, another thing that came from that is, now that we have egg production close to back to where it should be, instead of refunds, we were able to offer eggs, which then potentially introduced a new egg customer into
yeah, because
our mix.
serendipitously, the $7 figure
Just happened to be our egg price.
just happened to be the exact same price for a dozen eggs that we sell. And so for a couple of people, we ended up just giving them eggs instead of the refund. So yeah, like you said, I think that worked out pretty well. All right, and then what else do? We had a lot of rain this past week.
Right.
An absurd amount of rain.
Which not mad about.
Yeah.
Great amount of rain.
Not bad
Needed
at
it.
all.
Needed it.
Yep. In August to get rain? Oh yeah.
Yeah, especially.
I'll take it.
I mean, we had in the past 3 days 5.5 inches of rain.
Well, and the blessing for me is during those days that we get rain, I can do maintenance.
Right.
And so what I do is I've got maintenance backed up a little bit. I on my mowers, I never let them back up. I always do my mowers in 50 hours. But I had several things, so I ended up changing the oil on the car. I'm doing my Ford 8N, doing all the maintenance on that, doing maintenance on my finishing deck. Had to change a spindle out, change all the blades, do all the greasing and all that kind of good stuff. So, and the golf cart, did my normal August update on that, maintenance on that. So got a lot of things knocked out and got all caught up on maintenance. And so we try to do that whenever there's bad weather. And so that worked out very, very nicely. And a good thing, because it took me 2 full days to do that.
Well, yeah, the finishing deck.
Well, the finishing deck just
kicked your butt a little bit.
It did. But we got it out. We got it fixed, and I used it today, so it was running well.
Good.
Yep.
I didn't have to water chestnuts this week, which was...
Well, you did.
Oh, I did. The day before it rained.
Yeah, on Tuesday.
2.5 inches.
Because it hadn't been watered since the previous Wednesday.
Was it Wednesday?
I thought it was Wednesday or Thursday. So it went several days.
Longer than we liked it.
Yep. Yeah. So we did want to make sure we get out there. Yep. The forecast said rain was coming, but we've learned.
The forecast also said it was going to rain Monday, and it didn't.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I get weather is hard to predict. But we couldn't take a risk. We didn't want to take a risk.
Right. It's not worth it.
Yeah. So went ahead and watered. So you did do that.
I did water. Didn't have to do it the second time. So ended up moving we upped the amount of layers that we have this year. So we ended up moving our new layers in with our old layers into the egg mobile.
Yep. They started laying.
Started laying
last week.
Great.
Yep.
Did a modification. When I built the egg mobile, I was not cognizant or aware of the mistake that I was making by making the door to the egg mobile open inward, which robbed a good amount of space in the small area that we do have. So flipped the door to the outside, which required some modifications with a hammer and some shimming to get the door to open out the right way. And also, Eagle Eye here pointed out that I had my my hinges on the wrong way, which was another reason that it was binding.
Yeah, but initially it was the primary reason why it was binding. So initially, when you had put it on the outside, the door would only open up about 45 degrees. So when we put the new birds in, they wouldn't go in.
Oh, it was a nightmare.
Absolute nightmare. I mean, it's
taken 3 of us an hour almost to get birds in.
To get the birds in the egg mobile. Oh. And we tried everything. Tried all kinds of stuff.
And it came down to us having to chase them down, pick them up, and put them in.
And just to make it clear, wrangling chickens that aren't behaving is one of the most frustrating things imaginable.
Well, yeah, the first day.
And there's 81 of them out there.
And the first day that we had to do it, it was me and my daughter. And I was
thinking they're going to go in.
Thinking
like they
ordinarily
do.
And let's just say I wasn't a good role model that day and lost my temperature, my temperature and my temper.
Lost your temperature.
Both of them through the roof.
But what's interesting is, chickens, they don't like change.
No.
And the change was the door. But it wasn't the fact that it was opening on the outside, the fact that it wasn't opening fully.
Right.
And so it was just opening at about 45 degrees. They wouldn't go in. So you do your modification, fix the hinges. Now it opens a complete 90 degrees.
Yep.
They go right in. no problem.
Yep. So what took 45 minutes to an hour now takes 5, maybe 10, if they're having a particularly randy day where they're just wanting to be stubborn.
Right, right.
Mm.
But yeah, it's night and day difference.
Oh, night and day difference.
But it just shows how, a slight change in their environment is enough to kind of throw them off.
Right.
And they were thrown off big time. And we were trying to figure out, well, we got the new birds because they had not been in there before. And we were thinking they were misbehaving, and then the other birds are queuing off of the misbehaving birds.
Feeding off the bad energy and
and so it was just
jerks.
a wild mess. And it turns out it was the door wasn't
It
open
was just
enough.
us not understanding biology.
Well, I'm sure it was a combination of both of those things, but
Oh no, I'm sticking to the fact that it was
sticking to the door.
it was the door. Yeah.
so it was really Kevin's fault.
Yeah.
It was Kevin's
Name of the
fault.
game. Kevin did it.
So you should have been frustrated. And,
Oh man.
All right, well, let's wrap it up. This was a very long one. So if you've made it this far in the video, go ahead and like and subscribe. That would be greatly appreciated. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next one.
Yep. See ya.